Well, in September, Admiral McCain, who was the chief of, he was the top military leader in the Pacific, PACAF, that was the command, Pacific Command. He was the chief, and his son was a prisoner of war at that time. And he was in Washington, so they invited him to the Joint Chiefs of Staff briefing. At that time, he found out that his son was not expected to be at Son Tay, because it was already known through publicity that North Vietnamese allowed that he was injured, he was in a cast and all of that. So obviously he wasn't just one of the prisoners, and he wouldn't have been in an isolated facility such as Son Tay. They thought he's in Hanoi or someplace where he has medical care. Okay. Well, the Admiral McCain was delighted, and he said, "You are going to get full support." He said, "But you are going to need security." I said, "Yes, security is paramount here. We don't want the word to get out. So everything has to be done in secret." And our planners who were at that meeting said, "No, it shouldn't really be a problem because they're so isolated in the Gulf of Tonkin." So I said, "Fine, there'll be no electronic transmission about this. That we already thought about that. No electronic transmission. It will be person-to-person contact when this information is introduced." Great. So we finished training, and we're ready to go in October. Henry Kissinger gets involved, and then here it becomes not just diplomatic, but political. We had peace treaty that's being negotiated in Paris, and that was going up and down. Yes, there were some concessions, and there were not concessions. Anyway, whatever was happening at that time, for several reasons, they asked for a delay until November. Another reason for that was, guess what? In November, there was presidential election. So this moved our raid beyond that. After, we anticipated that President Nixon would be re-elected. But anyway, as you can see, there were many inputs to that decision to wait for one more month. That gave us one more month of training. Okay, so then we are ready. We still don't have President's approval to execute. Yes, he was aware of it, but it had to be approved by him. One of the reasons for that was that at that time, the President Lyndon Johnson's restriction on bombing of North Vietnam was still in effect. That was in effect for almost 2 years, where we did not bomb anything north of 19th parallel, and that included Hanoi and so on. So to rescind that or make an exception for our raid, just for that reason, he had to open it up. Okay, so you see, there were glitches there. It wasn't that as simple as we thought in our planning in Florida. Well, anyway, on 5th of November, General Blackburn, who's head of SACSA, General Manner, who was the chief of the Joint Contingency Task Group, and Bull Simons, who was his deputy. Now, what was the Joint Contingency Task Group? As I said before, we did not have a joint agency that could execute a mission like that. It had to be put together from the scratch. So we had our Navy and Air Force, and the incompatibility of radio frequencies and so on, coordination and all of that. So this was really important part of our training, how to communicate from ground to the air and all of that. But we had plenty of time to do it, and we resolved it. So it was the first specifically prepared joint operation between Army and the Air Force. Navy was diversion. They'll send us a few airplanes. So here we have these three gentlemen, Blackburn, Manor, and Simons, go to Saigon to brief General Abrams, who was running the war in Vietnam.